everybody. I think this is on, and I'm sure it is now. Okay, so this is the Higher Fish. My name is Patrick. Welcome. Um, I'm not doing the SKT today. We're going to take a break and we're going to do the Wild Unknown Archetypes and the Wild Unknown. And I guess first we'll see what's up with the 8s. And then we'll just see what the cards have. And I did that on my Legacy channel last night. I was originally going to use these decks, but I didn't last night. But I am today because I had a dream last night that kind of effed me up. Low-key. And I just woke up and I'm still a little shook. So I hope I'm not entering a period where I'm having dreams that I don't want to have, but it seems like I might be. And if I am, then I guess it's fine. Because, I mean, it would have to be, wouldn't it? And they're not necessarily nightmares. They're just like really, really heavy dreams that I don't fully know why I'm having. So last night, I was like excited to go to a summer camp or something like that. And there was this person who made, at first it's like I'm up there doing whatever, right? And then I'm going somewhere, and there's a person who made an advance on me. Oh snap! The Lovers was right behind the 6 of Cups, and I didn't even know it. There's a person who made an advance on me, and I didn't appreciate it, so I was like, no thanks. And dude kind of lost his mind. He was an older gentleman. He kind of lost his mind, and he was like, blah 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 blah. And apparently the summer camp was a front for something that I didn't even know what it was. And so I'm like, I'm sorry. And so then I was going to be sent home. And then there was this girl who kind of reminded me of whatever her name was from The Boys, who managed all of the superheroes. But she was like, I'm going to talk to him. So I guess this dude was basically Homelander, but not Homelander. But he was the one who ran the whole thing. And she was like, I'm going to try to get you in, like, blah, blah, blah. And he still didn't accept it because I guess no one had ever told him no. Because I guess everybody knew whatever this was, and I just somehow ended up there. Ooh, that's interesting. And I just somehow ended up here thinking like, oh, this is a summer camp. It's going to be fun. And so then there was someone else who was like, you know what, I'm going to write you a ticket. And like, I guess this person was like prominent enough. This person was basically, I found out a little bit later in the dream, set up to take over whatever this was. And so he gave me this ticket, and he was like, if you give this to him, he was like, he basically won't refuse it, but he still could if he wanted to. And I just felt so bad about, like, I guess not wanting to be taken advantage of. That, like, there was, and it was so weird. This dream was like the dream itself never really went there, but I could tell what it was about. So it's pretty heavy, like I said. And so the next day I get there, like I'm the first person there, and he's the only person in there. And so I give him this ticket, and I apologize, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like I didn't know what this was about, and like we were outside when you was like whatever, and I'm like, there are children around here, like girl. And he was like, not even, I think he was honestly hurt. It seemed like his feelings were real hurt, like his feelings were mad hurt, and I'm like, again, like I didn't understand, but I guess like he ain't never been refused before. And so he was like, you know what, just sit there and don't talk. And so I didn't talk for the rest of the dream. And then like there was someone else who came in, and he tried to start talking to me and I couldn't reply. And it's interesting because in the dream, like there were some double stuffed Oreos that I had, but I wasn't really eating. And then I bought some double stuffed Oreos at Meyer last night. But so in the dream, I didn't talk for the rest of the dream. And all I did, like when he was talking to me, I put my hand to my lips in that hushing like formation, and then I pointed to myself. And he was like, "Oh." And so then there was a first round of dudes, and there were a bunch of girls. And I was just chilling up there, right? I guess since I was there before everyone came in, the girls just assumed I was just there, right? And so they all, I guess, got selected or whatever. And then there was this one girl who didn't have something. So the dude who was poised to take over, he went to like go buy clothes with her or something like that. And we were like, is she gonna whatever, or is he actually gonna get her clothes? And so they actually got clothes. And so the main dude stepped out for some reason, and then this other dude who came up to talk to me before was like, follow me. And I was already in basically like full on slave mode by this time, and not refusing anybody, and I still wasn't talking. And so I followed him, and all the girls were shook that I was like being pulled out by this dude or being let out by a dude, because I guess the concept of homosexuality was new to them. And so he pulled me into this one space that almost looked like, it was so interesting because I'm like, so like, is this whole place just set up like this where everybody knows that this is going on? I guess I won't go like super far into it. But he pulled me into this one space. Somebody else came in. They were like, "Hey, it's like business hours," and like, so they knew what it was about. Apparently, everybody in the dream knew what it was about. Oh, before that happened, or after that? No, it was after that happened. Um, so then, no, before that happened, there were these women who were starting to get, like these grown women who were starting to come in, right? And the girls had already been selected. And so somebody said, one of the girls was like, "Oh, it's like this batch of women looks a lot better than that last batch. Like that last batch of women y'all had were looking a little rough." And then somebody, one of the adult women was like, "Did you hear that, Sharon? She talking about you. Because you was here last time." And Sharon was like, And then like one of the one lady who, like the manager lady, she was like, and the manager lady didn't even know that she was about to be replaced or something. Somebody didn't know that the dude who was supposed to take over was about to replace somebody. Anyway, she was like, oh, she's like new, like this is her first week, so she wouldn't even know. And then she basically had to apologize, and that happened like right before the dude pulled me out. And the dude was trying to initiate something, and again, I'm just like, I guess this is what this camp is about, and I want to be at this camp. And then somebody like came in, and then I guess he was acting like he wasn't, and that person was like, hey, this is business hours, blah blah blah, like we actually use this room, y'all gonna have to go somewhere else. And then the dude was trying to play it off, and then like more and more people came in, and then he was like, is that tacos? And she was like, yeah, we're having taco salad today. I don't know why it was so important that they were having taco salad. um she's like, yeah, we're having taco salad. And then more and more people started coming in, and then they were all like picking on me, or this one girl started picking on me, and she was not like an adult, but like younger, but I don't think she was a part of whatever was going on at this part of the camp or whatever, but she knew about it. And then everyone was like picking on me and laughing at me, and I still wasn't talking. And one of the girls in the back, she was like, hey, like leave him alone, he's actually pretty cool and blah blah blah. Because like I said, before I realized what this was, I was doing something else. And so I was like up there like speaking my mind or whatever, talking about something. and she had seen me when I was talking before I was approached by the dude in the first place that I turned down. Um, and then that was enough. And then so the dude who had pulled me in there, who isn't the main dude, he was like, "Hey, like you need to stick up for yourself. Like you can't allow people to just treat you whatever." And then I motioned to him again that I couldn't talk because of the order I was given. And he was like, "That doesn't matter. Like you need to stick up for yourself." And so I'm like, okay. So in my head, I'm like, oh, like I need to learn how to speak up for myself without speaking. Like that's backwards. And so then we get back to the room, and when we get back to the, or when we got back to the room, he was like, "Hurry, hurry," because the main dude was coming in. I guess he didn't want the main dude to know that he had snuck me out, because I guess I was basically the main dude's property at that point. Trying to get back in his good graces for whatever reason. So I ended up, I'm wearing these flip flops, the heart in reverse. Bottom of the deck is the flame. I'm wearing these flip flops, and one of my flip flops fall off. And he's like, "Oh my gosh!" But you know, I barely make it. I make it back to my seat before the dude comes, and it was like there were double stuffed Oreos, a little pack of regular Oreos, and then like the Oreo cakesters. I don't know why, but we were eating the Oreos. I wasn't really eating the Oreos, even though the double stuffed ones were mine, and then the other ones just like popped up. Um, and then there were like a bunch of like boys there, and then the women came back in. So, and then I woke up. So I feel a little better talking about it. I didn't really want to talk about it, so I think I might stop this video and then come back. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I will keep it up. The heart and the venom. Oh, wow. And so I guess it was folks grooming people. And then Thanatos, which is death. Bottom of the deck is the siren. Um, yeah, it was definitely an interesting dream that I did not care to have. And I wake up like, why am I having this dream? And I guess like there are some things going down in the world like there always are. But still, it's just like, oh my gosh. Um, so yeah, that was that. I didn't even record that because honestly, that's a dream that I don't care to remember. um, excuse me. But yeah, it was. And I remember thinking in the dream, because they were going through the rules of what this place was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm basically just in here to get used. Like, what if I'm worried about my personal safety? Like, not only am I worried about, just being used, but also, like, some of the rules they had, I'm like, I'm trying to get injured or end up in the hospital. Hello, excuse me? So then I'm like, well, hopefully I end up with, like, the vanilla. And it's not funny. But I remember thinking when I had basically made the decision to whatever the summer camp was to just go with it and because I had a feeling that the dude was kind of sort of going to take it out on me, that I had already said no in the first place, and he didn't even really want me because his ego was bruised, um, but he was going to take me anyway to let me stay in whatever this was because I had again the ticket from the other guy who was basically poised to take it over. But I remember thinking like if I do this then like what will the person that I love like think of me? Like, is my body even gonna be like any good after this? And that was in the back of my mind while I wasn't talking. Um, I don't know. I just remember having that thought. I don't know, it was really interesting. So the heart, the venom, and death. This is a dead heart. It gets poisoned and then it dies. and because of whatever this siren offering of whatever it is that you want type of, oh yeah, it was a really heavy dream, and I just woke up, and that's why. Like I said, I do feel a little better sort of like verbalizing it. At the same time, I'm like, oh, could have done that in a way that isn't like just public on here, but also it is something that's happening in the world. And now we have some people to sort of hold accountable for some of it, right? Um, but yeah, it was just really, really interesting. Not interesting, but intense. And then I like when I was walking out the door to the girl who like stood up for me because I couldn't stand up for myself. Um, like before I walked out the door, I made a heart and then I pointed at her because again I still wasn't talking, and she was like, "Oh my gosh," she said he loves me. And I remember just being like, "Girl," I was like, "We don't even know each other. You just had an appreciation for what I was doing before I ended up in this mess." And I guess I felt like she could see who I was before this had happened to me, or before I don't even want to say allowed myself, but I mean, I kind of did because I wanted whatever it was that this camp was offering, I guess. But because again, it's like it seemed like other people knew what was going on, but judging by the beginning of the dream and how I felt when this dude like did whatever, I'm like, excuse me, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to like make something of myself or something. I don't know. But somebody was like, that's basically the founder of this camp, and you refused him. And I mean, he basically told me as much. And I'm like, oh. Like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I didn't know. And he was like, Bruce ego. He ain't never been told no before. So, yeah. But I'm feeling better now that I've talked about it. Like I said, it was really heavy and not a dream that I'd care to have, honestly. But sometimes I have a few dreams that are heavy like that. That I think that's been the first time I maybe have had one that was that heavy. Usually, when I have a heavy dream, it's related to like people that I know in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And sometimes I might have a dream about what I would assume is some of their like internal most struggles. I've had some really really heavy dreams related to people that I know, and in those dreams that they always hit different. Like there are some dreams that are just straight up dreams. There are some dreams that kind of sort of mean some things. Some other dreams that are other dreams, and then there are the dreams that I have that are like connected to the state of the heart of a person. And those dreams, I remember talking about it a few months ago when I'm like, oh, I'm having these dreams that I don't even want that were connected to the state of the heart of someone, a few people this year. Um, but I think that was the first time, or it probably wasn't the first time, but maybe it was the first time that I've really had context for what happened, right? Okay, so let's like clear that out. And let's get into whatever we're getting into today. I honestly was going to go through another court, but I didn't. After waking up from that, I'm like, not today. So I was like, I'll pull the SKT. I mean, I'll pull these because I'm not even trying to pull the SKT. And we'll just see what's up with the eights in the wild unknown. Who we got? The Three of Cups and the Six of Swords. I think I saw the Three of Cups and the Six of Swords yesterday in the Archangel Power cards, but maybe not. Um, this is about a change in community because I'm seeing this bird. There's one bird that's further from the other two, and even at the bottom, there's one cup that's a little further from the other two. And then with the Six of Swords, it's about like finding a new community, I think. Or it's either one of these birds is kind of sort of distancing themselves from an old community and moving towards a new one, or you're just finding like-minded people. And the dynamics are going to be a lot different than the dynamics that you've experienced in the past with the Son of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. I feel like it's going to be a lot more fulfilling and a lot more rewarding, and it's not just going to be like idle gossip or people who kind of sort of tie up their own abundance by holding each other back or anything like that. Like if you were in a toxic community or in a community where people weren't really going anywhere, you may be finding yourself a little bit better connected. Look at those butterflies. In a space of victory, yeah, instead of just a straight up like having to choose type energy. It's like, oh goodness. I woke up like I'm effed. Oh, that drink got me effed. Oh, because I really let them do that to me. And then the dude was like, why did you let them just do that? Like, why didn't you speak up for yourself? And I'm like, the other man told me not to talk, so I'm not talking. And he was like, boy, I don't care what order you was under. So like the situation is still kind of effed up. But I woke up thinking like, man, that dude, at least he like kind of sort of cares about me somewhat. But again, like it was still effed up. So I don't know. And so I really walked away from that situation like, well, oh, now I need to figure out, like, and I thought I was like making progress. I was like, oh, I need to figure out how to speak up for myself without talking. I was like, ooh, like this is a challenge. Like, ooh, that's not the point. Goodness. Okay. All right. So I think I need to shuffle both of these a little more because I did touch these when I was in that energy. Sometimes I just shuffle it out. I'm just like shuffling it out. Okay. Clear. No, that's the womb. I feel like the stone is going to come out for some reason. Because when the heart came out, I thought the stone was going to come out. But I guess Venom and Thanatos came out, so that's basically the same thing. It's like, how do you recommend shuffling these cards? Not like that. The cave. I thought the underworld was going to come out too. Bottom of the deck is the creator. The cave of the creator could be the womb. Excuse me. If we're all made in the image of God, there has to be something that masculine energy has that also creates, that isn't just, their organ. It has to be something outside of the womb, right? Because maybe that's how we create physically and we like procreate biologically. And maybe it's in the heart of just feminine energy in general, but I don't know. I'm feeling like masculine energy should be able to do something. But it's like toxic masculine energy couldn't figure out how to do it without the woman. But he didn't want feminine energy to really be a part of the picture either. And so he took from her what it is. But I feel like divine masculine energy will find the truth of its creative potential in its own right outside of just contributing to the feminine. And when that happens, then maybe the feminine will remember how to create without contribution from the masculine. And it's like they still work together, yeah, like don't get me wrong, but they should also be capable of some things independently. Maybe not. And again, like, we're not necessarily talking about like biologically, right? But I don't know. That'd probably be like really high up there, and that's fine. I don't know why that just came to my mind. Okay, so we're gonna give this a few more, just like 3 more, and then we will cut, go, 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 go. The moon in the tower. Excuse me. That's really interesting. I think I'll be able to go back to sleep now. I almost went back to sleep. I was like, don't want to go back to sleep after that. Hello? 3 of Swords, the 5 of Wands, and the High Priestess are the first cards out. I feel like this could be us not fully, or at least not immediately, seeing the lessons behind the heartbreak in the past and being more scattered and confused. But it's like we also know that there's something back there maybe that we're supposed to have picked up. And then the Hierophant, Judgment, and the 9 of Wands, which is interesting. Followed by the 4 of Wands and Death, and then the Father of Swords, 9 of Cups, the Chariot. Oh, that's an 8. We get the Star card that comes out first. The Star is almost like always one of the last ones that came out. The 2 of Wands with the Star. I'm loving that energy. How do you say Star? Hoshi, I think? Nageboshi? So Hoshi. And it's interesting because in Japanese, the word for star is like really close to the word for like want or desire. Like they're both Hoshi. Well, one is like Hoshi, the other one's like Hoshi. It has a longer E sound. Oof. The 10 of Swords is the first 10 out again over here, which is interesting. And it's come out with the 10 of Pennies. What's that about? Excuse me. Oh, snap. And then the 8 of Wands was like right there. So this Ace of Cups is coming out with the 8 of Wands. And y'all knows I'm a fan of that energy. Who wouldn't be a fan of that energy, like, honestly? Swords and then Wands. Is that? No, because Wands came out last in the Archangel Power cards. The Archangel Power cards got deeper than I thought yesterday. I was like, what? So we really going there. We really going there. Oh, strength is an 11 in this deck, so we're not getting that Wheel of Fortune. But we did have 10, 11. Man, I got so hyped. 10, 11, 12. Really? We just got 10, 11, 12 in the majors. The Wheel of Fortune, Strength, and the Hangman. I feel like that's sticking to your guns no matter what. Like, if the Divine is telling you that something is for you, you claim that, and you don't allow the outside to affect your ability to get it. Because then you may lose it. Eight of Cups with the 6 of Wands. Interesting. Maybe that's successfully walking away from something. To take hold of the reins and use them. There's our 8, Justice. Ooh, coming into a just world where I don't have to have crazy effed up dreams like that. I'm a fan. I'll take that energy. Oh, goodness. And it's also interesting because at the end of the video last night, like, there was literally a moment where I'm like, I think I took what was said the wrong way. But I was like, am I just gonna brush this off, or am I actually gonna say something? I was like, yeah, no, I'm saying something, because I can't just brush off things that don't sit right with my spirit no more. I'm not just gonna be a silent bystander anymore, because I've done that enough in my life, and we're not doing that anymore. So I was like, I don't know what you over there talking about, girl, but that's a no-fly in this zone, and I will gladly hit you with the block with the quickness if you over here trying to say what I think you're trying to say. And I'm kind of sort of surprised I did that too, because a lot of times I just be like, oh, not gonna say anything, just gonna side eye and feel weird and keep it moving. For not saying anything, I'll feel weird. So we get all the eights on the table. I think that only happened with the that only happened once yesterday that we got every eight. I do have a little bit of table over here because in the first one and in the third one, first the eight of swords came out with the strength card, and then the star came out with the eight of wands card. Um, so I think it was with the Kawaii Tarot that we got all of the eights that came out. And so let's see if I can't fit this down here. Interesting that the Ace of Swords is coming out with this Eight of Pentacles. We'll just consolidate. We'll do our best, okay? So the moon is going to be left at the bottom of the deck, which is interesting, coming out with the Ace of Swords here. Maybe getting clarity in dreams or in other ways for things, and then the Ten of Cups was next for things that you don't want to know. Maybe, potentially, maybe not. I don't know. Whew. All right. Let's see what it's all about. The Destroyer and the Destroyer and the Mountain. That's giving me heavy Ganesha energy because the mountain can symbolize blockages, right? Destroying blockages, that's Ganesha. The power to overcome any obstacle. Elephants also. Um, Speaking of elephants, I only have 2 on my island now because the pink elephant moved away. Paolo, but he left one of his baths. Paolo had like 2 baths in his house. He was like, because I get real sweaty. I was like, okay, Paolo. I lost one of my lions. Rex left a long time ago, but I still got Leopold and Elvis. It was actually Elvis's birthday the other day. And I hope I didn't miss Leopold's birthday, but it may be like in the double digits of August. I got a sheep that moved in. His name is Bo, and he's actually a gem nut, and I thought he would be not. That was like, when I say the other day, that's like a while ago. I ain't really been on Animal Crossing lately. Um, that's the thing with Animal Crossing games. I'm like on them for a minute, and then I'm just like, nah. Okay. So the top, bottom, then we'll pull this one. The animal. Oof. Those animals. Let me stop. So the animal to me could be, it could speak of instincts. Oh my gosh, this is interesting. Then we have the unseen. The unseen is number 27. So this is an aspect of the self. So there's the primal aspect of the self in the 19, which is interesting because that's the sun. I've been seeing 19 a few times. And then the 27 would be like the Hierophant if we restarted the majors. And we see the eye featured in both of these, and both of the eyes are blue. And this eye is interesting. The unseen and then the moon at the bottom of the deck. Okay, so these are aspects of the self that we don't see. Excuse me. Maybe for good reason. I don't want to say like good reason, but maybe it wasn't yet time to see the things that we don't see about ourselves. And maybe you will have a friend who will help you see. Just like that one girl who had my back. She was like, leave him alone. He ain't one of them other little mindless little puppets that got running back here. I don't know what happened to him. Because last time I saw him, he was acting like he had something to say. But today he ain't saying nothing. So something is obviously wrong with this man. I was like, thank you. Thank you. Because they were getting relentless. You know how like people can be when one person start picking on somebody, then it's like everybody start picking on somebody. I'm like, girl. And then the gentleman I was there with wasn't really saying anything either because he was a little embarrassed, I guess. And so I should have been like, well, girl, why didn't you stick up for me? Hello? You saying I should defend myself? Why didn't you defend me? You know I can't talk right now? And he was like, neither one of us have a valid excuse for why we allowed that to happen. I said, look, man, I don't even know why I'm here. I thought this was something else. Okay, sorry. And we're over that. I hope nothing about that dream comes out. I don't think it will. Well, we got the Eight of Swords with the Ten of Pentacles, so hey, it could. So let's start with the unseen. Excuse me. The unseen is the beast, the wild, and the wolf. We are mammals. The hair on our chest and between our legs reminds us so. We try hard to deny our unrefined animalistic nature. Yet, through this archetype, we tap into power and direction. Activating the animal within means reawakening our relationship to nature in the most broad and embodied sense. Drinking from waterfalls, roaring at the moon came out. Interesting, she said roaring at the moon instead of howling. Opening eyes underwater, eating berries from the vine. The life force of our planet begs us to set down the devices, the contract, the constraints, and the social constructs, and remember the warm blood that pulses through our veins. The animal longs for breath, food, procreation, oh gosh, and physicality. It wants soil under our nails and starlight on our skin. If this all sounds terribly unsophisticated to you, take note that it is said that when Buddha became enlightened, he roared like a great lion. I didn't know that. I feel like when I think of Buddha, he like so zen. I can't even imagine Buddha just like roaring like a lion. So in light, this is vital, elemental, alive, and dances. In dark, this is savagery, pent up emotion, and lashing out. It says listen to the audio recording of Mary Oliver reading Wild Geese. Repeat every morning for 1 week if you want to bring it into balance or something like that. Oh, to go deeper. To go deeper with this energy, listen to a recording of Mary Oliver reading Wild Geese. That's interesting because the other day I saw like, oh, the ugly duckling, he was a swine, but then I'm talking about geese. I'm like, oh my gosh. Also, when the page of swords came out, I was like, I'll take the fifth card and the 55th card. I watched that back. I'm like 39, 50. I'm like, wait, what? What happened to the 40s? Like sometimes it happened how it's supposed to happen, girl. But I am curious what that 55th card would have been. So on the side it says the animal demands we get comfortable in our own skin. The minute you accept, express, and celebrate the physical body, you tap into animal. You tap into animal energy. On the other side, it's all in red, and I can't read it really. So this is about tapping into the primal nature of who we are, and it's also interesting because yesterday I was saying like the body pretty much has a programming of its own that maintains and sustains itself, and that's also the animalistic part that sort of like ensures that it survives. Is your animal caged or is your animal free? And what kind of cage is your animal in? Now, if we're looking at the cage of the animal, that's what we start with, so I guess we'll get to these two later. The cage of the animal is the Ten of Pentacles. I feel like you may be the type of person that's like, that sounds terribly unsophisticated. I'm sorry, I usually do it better, but we had a moment last night. Yeah, I think out of fear of losing out on whatever this dream is, you're kind of sort of repressing the parts of yourself. And I don't even think the animal is necessarily purely animalistic. It could just be the space of our raw desire. right? Because when in light, it dances. And it's interesting that when in dark, it's savagery, but I feel like that's who we become when we operate without a heart. And it's like the further we try to separate ourselves from animals, sometimes the more animalistic we become. When we think that we're too advanced and sophisticated and blah, blah, whatever. This is the space. I feel like we're denying ourselves our truth in order to attain this 10 of pentacles, but in reality it's gonna not get us what we want. So then moving over to the 8 of wands, which could be the escape from this, we have the ace of cups and the 7 of wands. I think that's connecting to the heart and having the strength to follow up what our true passions and desires are, regardless of, how socially acceptable it is. And this ain't that, that stuff that we shouldn't be doing. This is the stuff that we should be doing, but we don't allow ourselves to do because we won't, like, get a good job, find a good spouse, or do whatever. All the reasons why we're told to grow up. This is connecting to the heart, connecting to source, connecting to, because when we connect to ourselves, we open ourselves up to connecting to all that lies beyond in a deeper level. And I feel like if this is the way of escape from this, then again, that's going to be the key. But we're gonna have to have the strength to stand alone. And I love that that's the wolf, because wolves can be solitary and they can be communal. Right? You can have a lone wolf or you can have a pack of wolves. And like I said, with that 3 of cups and whatever card that came out, the 6 of swords, it's like we may be finding a new community, one that more aligns to the space that we want to be in. Now, when it comes to the 8 of cups, this is how we free ourselves from this prison. So this would be kind of sort of like what we're really leaving behind, or what we're attached to that we're leaving behind. Because this is the bad part that we're leaving behind, that we don't want this trapped feeling, but we're also kind of sort of attached to what it is that we're leaving. If we weren't attached, we would have left a long time ago. And what we're giving up, or what we think we're giving up, is the chance at this victory with the 6 of wands. Again, because the 10 of pentacles is over here, this is denying ourselves for the sake of fulfilling our material desire. But over here, once we reconnect to the heart, once we reconnect to that space of our passion, once we reconnect to the other side of who we are, and then we bring some element of integration, it will naturally kind of sort of separate us from the world. Because there are so many who desire the same thing but don't allow it for themselves because they're chasing this. And so there's a lot of unhappy people out there who are like, you're not supposed to be happy in life. You're supposed to be miserable and make money. Be miserable, make money, and procreate. So, yeah, with the 6 of wands is coming that Son of wands. So there may be a space of really striking out on your own. I feel like you're not completely sort of ingrained in whatever that system is, but, and look, we have another 7 of wands here, which is also interesting, between the 6 and the sun. I was like, if we get 7, 7, 7, 7, that would be crazy. The 6 of swords may be here to give us 7 swords. Who knows? And we got the 7 of swords right there, so yeah, it could definitely happen. But I feel like you're not completely indoctrinated by whatever this is, but you do have some ties to it. And it could be the people more so than this. If you have a family to take care of, then that can also make things a lot more difficult. I think sometimes it's like, and I think I would probably think a lot differently as well if I had a family to take care of. Like, especially if I had like children to take care of in times like these. I feel like I would be a lot more flexible with what I want and how I go about doing it, especially in extreme cases. Um, But maybe there is a sort of, not only, maybe you were finding success in all of the sort of like day to day, or you still feel like the day to day can offer you more stability than whatever it is you're feeling guided to go for. But it's like not only that, but I feel like it's almost like this snake, like if this wand was a tree, then this snake already has a sort of stability. But this is like the thinnest tree I've ever seen, if this is a tree. And it has like, it bears no fruit. And so I think there's also something mentally that you need to leave behind. And it's that attitude of needing someone else to make you great. Now, working in conjunction and in partnership with other people is fine. Because there are some things that we do, some things that we're meant to do that are so grand that it involves like it's a more than one person job. Some of these things, right? But at the same time, you shouldn't be like overly reliant on someone else. And the best way to make sure that you're not overly reliant on someone else is to find that love that you have for yourself. Because then it'll keep you from going into those situations where you think summer camp is your only ticket to whatever you want. And you'll then go back and silence yourself and allow yourself to be whatevered in order to ensure that shot. And then it's not even like 100%, because that could be, it could be lost at any moment. Like it's a near sure shot, I'm sure, but you don't know what the fulfillment of that is going to look like. Then Ace of Swords with the Sun card. So here's that 19 you were talking about. So what you're working towards, you get clarity in the Sun. So I feel like once you separate yourself more from this emotionally, it's like you're emotionally and kind of sort of mentally separated by this from connecting to the space of your passion again, and connecting to that which is your true power. Also maybe connecting to a community or finding a new place to kind of sort of grow. And then with the Ace of Swords and the Sun, I feel like that's the vision of what is possible, where you can get these 10 pentacles and more in a way that is a little bit more self-built, a little less or a little less reliant, but also that doesn't compromise these parts of you that are like your truest desires. And again, we have the unseen and we have the moon card. So it's like, again, what's that song? Who sings? I can't remember who sings it, but it's like that. Here we go again. I feel the chemicals kicking in, so take it easy on me. I'm afraid you're never satisfied. I know I skipped a whole bunch of lines. No, I won't sleep tonight. But then it's like, here we don't. This energy over here is like, here we go again. And then by the time you reach out over here, it's like, here we don't. Like, yeah, I'm done with that. It's a clarity, it's like a crystal clear vision, but you may not necessarily know how you get there. Now we have the Ace of Pentacles with Justice, which is coming into a world that actually fits you, suits you, where you can be prosperous and grow in extreme abundance. And then over here with the Star, we have the Two of Wands, which is all about the departure and heading towards that. I want to flip both of these at the same time. So we have the Three of Wands and the Four of Cups. So with the Justice over here, it's about, again, it's about in this world that you come into, not having to be in this Four of Cups energy when you're still hiding these certain parts of you where you remain unseen. And I'm just now noticing under the unseen card is the warrior in reverse. But I'm noticing like these greens that are coming from the bottom of this eye. It's like a blur of green. It's like the road to the unseen is through the heart. And again, I was feeling this animal card more as like the space of passions and stuff like that. Like I said, procreation and raw physicality, maybe. But it also goes deeper than that. But the world would limit that. And with the Four of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles, again, it's about coming into a world where you don't have to make all these heavy emotional sacrifices to move forward. And once you can go in and bring justice to these root blockages, it's like instead of hoarding these four cups, this rat is going to go over here and go for that. That's no, that was the snake. Let's look up properties of the wood rat in the Chinese zodiac and see if that gives us anything to work with. Well, first we'll look at the water rat and then we'll look at the wood rat. Because the water rat, if there's a shadow of the water rat, that's what you would be leaving. 1972 is the year of the water rat? That's interesting. My mom is a water rat, and I'm a water rooster. Ha! And my brother might be a water pig. My youngest brother, I don't. He may not be water, so. But we're all Pisces too. My younger brother and my mother were all Pisces and water, um, water animals. Water rat, Chinese zodiac, upper properties, characteristics, properties like we're some kind of, I don't know. Oh, this is the year of the gold rat. Interesting. So, how do I click into this? Three more. Okay. That song is in my head now. You're killing me now, and I won't be denied by you, the animal inside of you. Rat years. Okay, we're looking at the properties, please. Metal rat. Yeah, I knew it was the metal rat. I was like, the gold rat, that's new. Come on, where did the list go? Where did the list go? Okay, here we go. So, the water rat is talkative, shrewd, conservative, and wise. But the wood rat is independent, self confident, virtuous, and talented with a strong sense of teamwork. And I kind of love that. So you're going from talkative, shrewd, conservative, and wise to independent, self confident, virtuous, and talented with a strong sense of teamwork. And I love that because that's, again, that independence, especially started here, having the strength to stand apart by tapping into who it is that you fully are. And when you tap into it, and that's one thing that I've lately discovered. It's like when you tap into the truth of who you are, you can show up more in the space of teams, right? Where you're not sort of muting and minimizing yourself, um, and out of the fear of that. And then here's the Five of Wands out of the fear of that confrontation. And just like if you're really good at something but you're never praised for it, and so you hide it, it's like what you really are supposed to contribute to that space you can't contribute because it's unseen, because you don't allow it to be seen. And so you come into these moon situations where at least if you're going to be the moon, like be a full moon, right? Don't be this like, what is that, a waxing crescent or whatever. Be a full moon. A full moon. Or be a full moon. Just leap into the unknown. And if you are full, when you take those full leaps, it's like the light that you emanate becomes a bridge. But if you're like this crescent moon, either your light bridge isn't going to be solid or it's not going to be complete. And to move forward into this space, like, and I was already talking about teamwork somewhere, right, with the community. So the wood rat is about teamwork, and then we have justice up here. So with the Two of Wands and the Three of Wands, this is about you moving forward with your own vision. Your own vision probably being the space of the thing down here. But again, it's like down here, you may not necessarily know how to get there, but as long as you're moving forward with that vision in mind, then it's like, and look, the colors of the star are the same as the colors in here. But as long as you're moving forward with that goal in mind, and as long as you use that as a sort of gauge to check, um, like, is this resonating with my goal? Is this not? Now, sometimes you'll come across a detour that still leads you in the same direction ultimately. And then you would know, like, is this resonating with the direction that I'm going in or no? Like, does this get me closer to my ultimate goal, even if it isn't on the surface in the same direction? Yes or no? You'll find the way. And that's why instead of a straight up 5, like, which is a lack of focus in this deck, confusion and a little bit of chaos, you have this 2 and the 3. As long as you continue moving forward and as long as you keep building towards it, you'll be fine. And the Three of Wands in this deck in particular, it's like you've gone as far as you can go off of the backs of other people. Now it's time for you to stand and move forward on your own. And part of making a decision about something is taking that stand and going through with it. I'm going to look and see what's around the Strength card, honestly. I'm feeling it. And I'm not going to reshuffle these, I'm just going to see what was already there. Strength came out like way early. Okay, that's the bottom of the deck. I was like, I don't remember seeing these cards. That's because that was everything behind the Ten of Cups. Okay, I thought it was early. Maybe it wasn't early. Okay, there it is. Strength with the Six of Swords. Nope. Strength with the Hangman. Oh, yeah, it was 10, 11, 12. I forgot. How did I forget? It was 10, 11, 12. So you have the Wheel of Fortune and then you have the Hangman. Clarifying the Strength card. And Strength is actually an 11 in this deck, so, you know. Night will turn today. And your time to sort of like, with this being in the unseen, I feel like honestly you've gotten really accustomed to operating within the dark of who you are. And the dark of who you are is just that space where you're not fully, truly all of who you are when you're operating in the realm of the unseen in the moon. And it's like now it's time for this world to turn and it's time for you to operate in the light of who you are, and you know that, but it's going to be an adjustment period. But it's interesting because it's like it's going to be an adjustment period, but I feel like you're probably really going to feel sort of the liberation. And then maybe that's when this bat is going to turn into a bird and join those other 2 birds on the branch. Let's see if I can find that real quick. I'm not going to pull the cards around it. I'm just going to show y'all. Because I was like, there's this one bird that's like a little bit further off the branch. And I don't know if that's a bird coming to join or if like that's a bird that's found a new community. It's for the birds, darling. I was like, yes, I know. Here it is. It's between the Nine of Cups and the Mother of Cups, by the way. Yeah. So I feel like the other two are kind of sort of already there. Once you come from this owl, we have two flight animals, not birds, but we have the owl at night, and then we have the hangman, this bat in the space of night. Once you come into the light of who you are, you transform into this bird, and then you're ready to join these other two birds and get to work with whatever this teamwork is. But that's not going to gel. It's not going to work as long as you continue to remain, as long as the animal within you continues to remain unseen. It's like maybe you're doing something that you like, but you're not showing the full breadth of your passion. You're not really going for it, or something like that. Or you're hiding something that you really want to express. Because the animal inside of you, it'll kind of sort of start gnawing at you if you don't feed it. Because it's hungry. And animals, like, they kind of sort of, animals like, I ain't starving. So either you feed me or I start to gnaw at some stuff in here. But you're heading to something really beautiful. But I think you are going to have, not only are you going to have the courage to leave something that you may have seen as stable, but like what's actually stable in nowadays, right? But you may also have to sort of separate yourself a little bit from those around you. Also, maybe when you were younger, you shined a little too brightly. Or maybe it's been the case for you, and again, that is the sun, or the number of the sun with the 19. Maybe you were shining a little too bright. Maybe people didn't like your blue eye when everyone else had a green eye or something like that. It's like, ew, you're a freak. Like, and it's interesting because in Teen Wolf, when you get blue eyes, that means that you've killed an innocent person. If you have blue eyes in Teen Wolf, and so maybe your innocence was killed, and so that's why. And like both of these have blue eyes, and the warrior is in reverse again. Like maybe that's why you're kind of sort of stuck here. But you need to leave this behind. And I think like you're not gonna completely leave whatever you've discovered here, because you may come into other dark periods where you sort of like, because the wheel is always turning, it's always going to be night at some point. So it's like you already know how to operate in the dark, but now it's time for you to learn how to operate in the light of who you are, to really come into this balance where you're always able to be and fluctuate. I like this. And you may be getting the opportunity to do so soon. Honestly, I think so. What your test, and I only did this for the third one. I should have did it for all of them, but I didn't think about it because this is kind of sort of loosely centered around the Lion's Gate because we're looking at all the eights, right? Um, Loosely, but not loosely. But the energy with the Lion's Gate portal, it can either start happening like now and around the eighth, or these chain of events could begin at the eighth, depending on how you do your work, right? Over here on this channel, I'm always like, let's do the things that we can do within our power so that when these portals open, we like we already start with whatever and we can just get rewards instead of doing all this other stuff. And so you could be in the space of really beginning to think for yourself in some ways that might run counter to what everyone in your environment is thinking. Maybe you were kind of sort of pursuing a specific path because it would make other people happy or it would make you money, but you realize that whatever that was, like your heart wasn't in it and you found your heart elsewhere. And so now, if you've decided to see where your heart will lead you, you could have gotten a vision or some clarity of where it is that you're actually going. And you could have realized that to get there, it's like the difference between where you are and where you want to be is this sort of hoarding of feelings and emotion, all of this unseen stuff that lies within you. And if you would have begun to sort of really strike out and claim that own, or sorry, to claim that vision that you have for yourself, then you're going to be coming into the space where there may be like one final test before you really get that reward. Now, if you haven't done all this, then you'll probably start encountering situations where this begins to happen. And this can happen in the means of like friction in a place where you're no longer sort of fitting in, a place where you're kind of sort of stuck and you're meant to go beyond and grow beyond. Um, it could also be the case that, let's say, someone else does something that is related to what you do, or someone else decides to leave this grind and pursue their own, and maybe you come like someone else finds success, so that highlights and illuminates to you, oh my gosh, it's possible. Or you kind of sort of just reach a breaking point where you're tired of not being who you actually are. And then you'll come upon these lessons, gaining this clarity that leads to the sun after you decide to, like, you kind of sort of have to connect to yourself and your heart, and then all that there is beyond that first. Then there's a little bit of action that needs to be taken, and then you really begin to get this clarity. Right. So depending on when you hit this is when you'll hit this, but I feel like there's going to be a moment coming up. There may be two moments. First is the test, and then it's the trial. The test is going to be you unleashing a bit of this beast, or making seen part of what lies unseen. The trial is going to be the actual situation when you actually go into it and you need to operate in the light and the dark of who you are. Everything that you've learned to be in the dark to kind of survive, like, don't necessarily throw all of that away, but you also need to learn how to operate in the complete light of who you are. And you also need to learn how to differentiate the different spaces. Right. So let's see what we had coming out. Another eye. Kairos. Girl, you got three eyes. Look at that. Another blue eye, too. Kairos, which is mythic time. And also the village, which is interesting. The village is number 41. And it's interesting because, so we have a 23-5, and then we have a 41-5. And Kairos is a 76-13. It's interesting because I was talking about the village the other day, and it might have been on this channel. I was like, this is giving me the energy of the village and the wild unknown archetypes. I can't remember exactly. The Garden and the Gate, maybe? Yeah, it was when the Garden and the Gate came out over here. Because it was like, the divine is telling you to, like, basically roam the whole world, and then by the end of your journey, it's like you end when you start where you start, and you're like, really? Like, you really had me pack up, move all this heavy stuff by myself just to end up where it is that I already left in the first place? And I'm actually going to read the village. I'll read both of them, but I'll read the village first. Actually, I might not read Kairos, but I will read the village. And so that would have been, what was the title of the video? SYOS, Save Your Own Soul, maybe? Maybe it was that one. What did I say this was? 41 XLI? Yep. So the village, this is the hometown, the family, and the tribe. The village presents us with a conundrum, sorry. On one hand, it's the place that feels most like home, the place to which you can always return. Nostalgia and comfort draw us back. On the other hand, it's the very place you must leave in order to grow. Around the village, an unspoken boundary exists. One most villagers do not want you to cross. Though some support your leaving, Still, you hear whispers of doubt as you venture beyond its borders, leaving them behind. The energy of the village is present anytime we feel restricted by a certain group, community, or family, place, and ideology. It may have served us at it may have served us in the past, yet staying within its parameters will never satiate our thirst for life. The caged animal. Um, Thank the village for all it has provided, knowing you will someday return. For now, the world awaits. In light, this is intimate, rooted, intergenerational, and communal. In dark, this is small-minded, gossipy, trapped, and restricted. And to go deeper, it says Maruki Murakami's Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World is the title from Haruki Murakami. And it was over here. It says, returning to the village is as important as leaving it. This can be thought of as a completion or an integration of what you learned out in the wild. So it's not that you won't be returning to this someday, but it's like in the space of this limiting you, you have to leave. And then you can always come back with all of your wonderful trinkets and gadgets that you've gathered from around the world, and you can tell people about your journey and adventure. And I feel like, and that also came out in one of the pile. It may have been in pile one yesterday. It was either one or two. I think it was one. Excuse me. Or maybe it was over here yesterday. I don't know. But it was like I think it was over here yesterday. It's like there are people who honestly love you and want to support you, but they just can't find it within themselves to like tap into what's unseen within them, to unleash their inner animal. They've been gnawed at for so long that they're extremely tender and don't want to, or can't really find it within themselves to venture beyond whatever their prison has been. It's like I feel like a lot of people in this village don't want to stay in the village. Some people are perfectly fine to stay in the village, but I feel like a lot of people don't want to be there, but they don't have the courage and strength to leave. And so when someone else does, they're excited for them, but then also a little bit jealous and envious at the same time. And then they get down on themselves for not having the same courage to go beyond, and they kind of sort of take it out on you, even if they don't consciously fully mean it or want to. And again, that also speaks to these cycles, right? When I was like, you don't have to completely disregard everything that you've learned in the night while you were sort of in this cage or in this environment in the village, but it's time for you to discover who you also are when you're out in the world, or when you're interacting with an energy that hasn't necessarily been the norm for you. You get the better parts of yourself, and then you bring the best of you back to the village. Because the best of you is what and who this village needs, right? It's about that teamwork. But in order to be the best team player that you can be, you need to experience what it's like working on different teams, working with different people. You need to fully dive into your skills so that you know what you fully bring to the table, so that it's like you have the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Swords, and the Ace of Pentacles. And then kind of sort of an Ace of Wands in the space of the Son of Wands. And it's not the Ace, but you're not so far gone that this wand can't be repurposed into an Ace. Right? And then we kind of sort of have this Ace of Wands that stands among these dead wands in the Seven of Wands. So I'm going to read Kairos now. Kairos is about mythic time. Kairos is, mythic time and synchronicity. I'm gonna do my best. We have all had the experience of timelessness, of life beyond the ticking of the clock. It may be felt as time standing still, slow motion, or or losing track of time on a walk or in a lovely conversation. This is known as mythic time, and it is the territory of Kairos. This card suggests there is a secondary time continuum that goes beyond any earthly clocks and schedules. Within this nonlinear realm, we access divine timing. A single moment ripens with auspiciousness, and our actions change the trajectory of our whole life. Time becomes a living thing that watches over us and tells us precisely when to speak or act. When this card appears, it is all about patience and precision. Going back to that kestrel. No clock can guide you. Wait for the rush of inner knowing and not a moment longer. So, when in light, this is alignment, ease in decisions, and action. When in dark, this is fighting against time. To go deeper, it says Felix Gonzalez Torres's Untitled, and then Perfect Lovers. And oh, I want to see what that's about. Maybe not. Untitled with Perfect Lovers in parentheses. I guess I'll try to show it to you. Oop. Been the whole book, Madonna. There it is. I could have did that for all of them. Untitled Perfect Lovers by Felix Gonzalez Torres. Yup, and I ain't even gonna try to read these other ones. And I feel like that's also related to this. I think this is a standalone energy saying that like you will know when it's time to leave the village. Again, because of the gnawing of the animal inside of you. That could be that rush of inner knowing when it's time to go. And like that's also the instinct of the animal, right? How birds just know when it's time to fly south. How bears know when it's time to stock up on, calories so that you can hibernate. It's that natural part of us that exists outside of the ticking of the human clock. And, our bodies must also have some kind of, like every animal kind of sort of has some internal clock, right? So our body too, like we got to have something. I guess we do have our own sort of natural circadian rhythms and cycles that are more so affected by light. They get really disrupted now because of all the blue light. I did a whole report on it. So melatonin is basically broken down, or it doesn't do what it needs to do in blue light. And that's why like we don't really produce melatonin in the daytime when the sun is out, because we get that blue light. But also if your face is all up in the screens, it may take you longer to fall asleep at night because of the blue light emitted by LED screens. LED screens. So, blue light, blue eyes. It's like you've been living in this false sun life, and it's time for that to set. It's time to reclaim your sense of innocence and the purity of the vision that you have for yourself and what you want and stuff like that. And that also falls in line with all of this inner child stuff, right? That was another huge theme. It was about sort of letting go of the things that we found ourselves falling into as a result of just trying to like minimize the amount of ostracism that we experienced growing up. Let's see if I can, maybe not. Come on. Y'all was like, oh, see, and then I'm like bend the mess out of my cards. And I'm not a fan of that. I thought this was going. We almost had one. That was the Emperor, but he went back down. Come on. Okay, I'll do these first then. Now that one song, "You Make Me Feel," just popped into my head. I watched that video back, SYOS, and when that "I Know We're Cool" popped into my mind, it popped into my mind at the exact same time when I watched it back, and I don't know if that's because I knew it was coming, or if it just like popped into my mind, and I said it at like the same time. I was like, "Whoa, why did that just pop into my mind again? Like, what did I just say?" And I was like, "Well, let me rewind and see if it pops into my mind again," and it didn't the second time. So I was like, "Oh, okay, well, not this time, then, eh? That's fine." Okay. Final card, please, from the Wild Unknown Archetypes. What's the final archetype? A 2 or 3? What do I need to see? Do. What are you gonna do when the odds are stacked against you? Gotta give it your when two worlds collide. Was that Bakugan or Beyblade? It was one of those little show songs from back in the day. Okay, we'll take this. We have the Healer, which is number 25. This is giving me Shiva vibes, because I think it's Shiva that sort of has the snakes. Was it Shiva or is it Vishnu? It might be Shiva. I'm pretty sure there's a statue of him outside of CERN, and I don't know why, but someone was like, Shiva does not approve of being outside of CERN. And the Pilgrim, number 20. Interesting numbers. So we have 20 and 25. I think we're going to stop there. Bottom of the deck is the Fault Line, which is perfect. It's number 49. Get lost in, with the animal right under the fault line. Oof, that animal is in there throwing a tantrum. It's really about to. It's like, I'm about to break free. Either you let me out, or I'm busting loose, and either you feed me now while I'm still in this cage, or you wait until I break out and just start eating anything and everything. Get lost in all that picture and sound. I've been losing my mind, but now I'm no longer falling for you. Girl, I've been standing on a fault line. All at once, you act like you don't need me. Hey girl, I'm holding on. I don't know what to believe in. Baby, you've been leading me on. I'm on a fault line, waiting for you all night, thinking it's the right time to let you know. I've been hearing voices going back and forth, not knowing if I'm lost or on the way home. It's a song called Fault Line. I love it. Fire breathing, higher dreaming. You got me so tired of feeling like all the love I've given you ain't got any meaning. I can't believe it. Give me a reason. Tell me it's not true or I'm leaving you. Is CERN CERN or CIRN? I thought it was CERN. Yeah, it is CERN. That's what I thought. Hello? The song is called Fault Line. Fire breathing, higher dreaming. Who this? Yeah, it is a statue of Shiva. Why is there a statue of Shiva at CERN? Who knows? Or maybe I should have just looked up Shiva snakes. That also may have. I'm done. That also may have been about. I was like, that also may have been about healing, and it came out on the Healer. It's like, duh. Let me just, I could just read the healer and it would probably tell me exactly why there are snakes on here. So let's go to 25. Anyway, there's a pilgrimage for this healing. And then there's the fault line with the animal at the bottom of the deck. So a pilgrimage is a journey. It's usually a sacred journey. It's usually a holy journey. And we did have the Eight of Cups, and that's one of the journeying cards. Also, the Eight of Wands. Both of those cards involve a certain amount of movement. The Eight of Swords is primarily stuck, and the Eight of Pentacles is also stuck, but it's like stuck in the house, sort of like doing work, right? Stuck at the bench, like working on something. So it's like not the same kind of stuck, but if you're working on something that doesn't ultimately benefit you, then kind of sort of it is the same sort of stuff, right? And then we also had Justice in the Star. So the healing, the snakes, sometimes a snake can, sometimes venom can be medicine when taken in the right dosage. And this is a very, very deep, this is something within the self that is fracturing. It's given me the energy of Chiron, of a wound that one has lived with for a long time that they don't know if it can be healed or not. Also, with this being like three heads coming off of this snake, it's giving me the energy of the Hydra. We'll take it. Three of Swords, Judgment, the Six of Wands, and the Ten of Swords. We'll say this is all this fault line down here. Three of Swords, Judgment, with the Six of Wands and the Ten of Swords. So it's like you realize where this fault line is. I feel like there's also a lot of sort of shadows that are like coming out of this fault line within you. And maybe you've been following some of the shadows back to where they all began, and you're kind of sort of finding where things kind of sort of, excuse me, and there may be more than one fault line, but you're kind of sort of finding where things kind of sort of began to go wrong. The source of this heartbreak that lies within you, not necessarily outside of you, and now you're trying to heal it and claim victory, but you know it's going to come in the space of doing like lots and lots of heavy work. But you know that if you can do that, then you'll be able to receive whatever it is that you want to receive. The Six of Wands also involves an element of recognition, and that could be you wanting to recognize you or you wanting to be recognized by someone else. And then we have the Mother of Pentacles, the Daughter of Swords, and the Empress. And so it's like the dream of that, or does this go? Well, we'll see. If we need to flip these, we'll flip them. I feel like the dream of that material stability is still there. I think you're realizing that one of your greatest strengths is your nurturing and your caring and your compassion. That's probably going to be what propels you. With the Daughter of Swords, though, it's like you're going to be going about it in a way that might be a little bit counterintuitive. And again, it comes from all of this deep healing down here. Once you do this, you know how you're blocked. And so it leaves you open to new paths. And so this isn't necessarily, it doesn't have to be new information, but it's going to be you allowing yourself to go about things in a new way because this fault line gets healed, whatever this is. But when I was talking about with the three heads on the snake giving me the energy of the Hydra, that's what poisoned Chiron, right? And I was already feeling Chiron anyway, but it was the Hydra venom that Chiron couldn't cure. And that's also given me vibes of Hod and Balder. Hod was tricked by Loki, and we got into that here yesterday. No, on my Legacy channel yesterday in the third one. Hod was tricked by Loki into firing arrow dipped or tipped in mistletoe at Balder, and it killed him. And Balder was like invulnerable, and so all the gods would get together and just like use their weapons against Balder and laugh at him not getting hurt by anything. And then Hod's like, oh, let me try, and then shoots him with this arrow, and he actually dies. So I feel like there's something that may have been done to you that again, it's like maybe you thought you would never recover from it, or maybe people didn't think you would recover from it, but miraculously you're beginning to heal. And again, it's not an easy process at all, but I think knowing that you're going to be victorious is motivating you. There's something that's motivating you, and it may be wanting to recognize yourself or see yourself. Like when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like when your symptoms begin to clear up and you see that in the mirror, then you get excited, and so you work even harder. It motivates you as like you start to do some of these things that you've been wanting to do. As you start to free and liberate yourself, it's like, if the rat gnaws through one of the what is this? One of the cords holding the lion up, then the lion feels a little bit more like the lion can feel freedom coming, right? Um, but yeah, so it's like you're going to be giving yourself permission to go about something in a different way with this Page of Swords. It's almost like you've had this sword sort of tucked in the back for a long time and you never used it. With the Ten of Swords, it's like maybe you had to use every other sword but this one. And now you're going to pick it up, and in picking up this sword, you're going to discover a part of your power. And it's going to heal something in your womb that kept you from being able to bear children. With this Empress card, it's going to heal something within you that's going to make you able to um, procreate or to create. I wonder if Chiron tried that, using a different venom or something else, because I don't remember which venoms it is, but it's like there are some venoms that can cure. It may have been like a certain paralysis or something like that. And it's like, but if you you have to be so precise, because if you go even a little bit beyond the dose, it's going to be deadly and it's going to kill you. But that's the thing about some toxins. It's like they can be medicinal in the right concentration. Bottom of the deck over here is the devil. Over here was the animal. That could be self sort of self bondage because of what other people may have said or done. I don't think I'm actually going to read this. I don't think I need to. It's a journey to find whatever this cure is for whatever this fault line is, and to do it before the animal just like eats its way from the inside out. Oh, excuse me. I'm getting like I'm feeling this slight wheeze, but it's not a wheeze. But it feels like at the back of my throat, like there's this pocket of air that I couldn't breathe. And I don't know what that's about. I feel like something is like coming. And my body is like reacting to it before I even know what it is, honestly. Um, so, with the Three of Wands, again, in this deck in particular, it's like other people have supported you for as long as they can, but now it's time for you to move forward on your own because only you can see what this vision is. And so the Three of Wands in this deck is a card of movement also. I think in a lot of decks it kind of sort of is, but it's a call to action more so than the movement itself. It's a call to action in this deck. And in the Suit of Wands, you don't even begin moving until like the 10. So unless you count the horse that you're on in the 6, but that's a return. So we have Temperance and we have the 6 of Pentacles. And I love that this is in the dark. And I feel like, again, earlier the heart came out with Venom and Thanatos. I think you, it's like the solution to whatever this has, the solution to whatever's going on has been growing in the dark. It's given me the energy of like Nightshade. And I think Nightshade, I'm going to tell you what I think Nightshade is. And then you'll see why I'm getting the energy. But it's like Nightshade is a plant that only blossoms at night, right? Or it blossoms in moonlight. But there's something about this where if it gets too much light, it'll kill this plant. And so there's something that's been growing in the darkness. And it's like with this hair, and I'm getting like you've been protected while you're in the dark because there's something that you need on your journey that could have only grown in the dark. And maybe it's in the space of compassion, maybe it's in the space of understanding, maybe it's through you navigating whatever you've navigated through. You're going to help other people do it. And it's like you're going to heal something within you that you thought would never heal, and there are also things within other people that they think they'll never heal. But it's your journey with this pilgrimage to discover how to heal the unhealable. And then once you do that, you're also going to help other people do it as well. This is also giving me the vibes of that thing that Bayonetta has, and I guess John has one too. And I think those things might hold a piece of their soul or something like that. I don't remember. I don't even remember which eye of creation she has. She might have the left eye or the right eye. And that's either Chakma or Binna. It's right eye wisdom and left eye knowledge, maybe. And then the third eye would be the application. And we've seen so many eyes. Let me find out which eye of creation Bayonetta has, because there may be a message in that. I think it's the left eye. May the Creator Jubileus grace you. Eyes of the world. Witches receive the left eye. The eyes of the world are an essential plot concept in both of the Bayonetta games. Blah, 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 blah. Left eye of darkness, right eye of light. So yeah, Bayonetta had the left eye. Balder, I forgot that his name was Balder, and we're already talking about Balder. Balder had the right eye. And so the right eye was one that we thought, the right eye of light was one that was thought to be invincible. But then Hod, under like deceived by Loki, comes in and destroys the eye of light. So now that there's only one eye in the world, and that's darkness, and so maybe the world was plunged into darkness. And it's interesting because in Rustling Arounds, in his 8-8 video, he said that there was like the Mer team who had one eye covered, who wasn't yet exposed to the world enough to open both eyes or something like that. And so now I'm going to grab my little Angelarium deck and read the right eye and the left. It should be like right here because I just put it back last night, so I kind of sort of remember where I put it, and I put it right in front of the other one. Yep, here it is right here. This is how my brain works, and this is why like tarot to me is what it is to me. It's all about metaphor and association and symbolism, but symbols are just things that stand for other things. So like I can go on tangents all day long and still get places, and then it'd be verified through the cards. I'm like, haha, thank you. Chakma is right eye wisdom. Binna is left eye knowledge. So we're going to read the right eye first. And this was the eye that was destroyed. Even in the game, the right eye ends up being destroyed because Balder dies. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But you pretty much, like, he's introduced as a villain, so you know he's not going to be, like, around for very long. And also, plot spoiler, in the second game, There's the Aesir, which is interesting because the Aesir in Norse mythology, there's the Vanir and the Aesir. And the Aesir are something I don't remember. Um, but he needed both the left eye and the right eye. But since Balder had already died, he basically went to the past to get Balder before we even see Balder in the first game. So, yeah, in both Norse mythology and in that game, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but the right eye is lost. The second emanation, a vessel to hold that which is most precious, the first gate out of potentiality, and a step into the realm of the known. Chakma is the first moment a newborn child opens its eyes, that child's first steps and first word. He is the beginning of a lifelong journey whose path disappears over the horizon. Where Keter is the pen that hovers over the page, Chakma is the moment of contact. From nothingness, wisdom is formed. To have insight into that which is not known is a gift that is not bestowed lightly. Lightly, right? Eye of light. The gray orb breaks the surface of our consciousness. Descending from the summit of the tree, we see its duality begin to form. Chakma sits atop the pillar of mercy, and the angel of mercy was at the bottom of the deck on my legacy channel last night. If you don't, well, I guess I don't really link anything. If you are so curious, I would check out the What's Up with the Eights video on my legacy channel. I uploaded it last night, and go right down to the Archangel Power cards and the Angelarium. I believe it's in the comments. It's the third one, and maybe watch that. It was a little lengthy, but Mercy came out at the end of that. So, or you could just go to the end of the video when I put the cards back, because Gabriel, the Angel of Heralds, came out, and then the Angel of Mercy was at the bottom of the deck. But it's in the Pillar of Mercy, and it's interesting because that would be the opposite to Gavora, which might be Chesed. I can't remember. So, like, it isn't even the Angel of Mercy, but here's the Pillar of Mercy, forming the first masculine aspect of the diagram. And it's also interesting that this is the first masculine aspect of the diagram. The right eye, the masculine eye, has been lost to the world. But, like, the truth of it, right? The wisdom that it brings us. And not this, like, toxic masculinity imitation garbage that we got going on down here. Its partner, Bina, opens next to reveal the two eyes through which we see the world. This is found in birth, intuition, and the subconscious. So again, we kind of sort of get the image of something that, like, it's the child's first, like, the first thing the child sees, the child's first steps, and the child's first word. But it's been lost to the world. It's been lost to you. There's something in your innocence and your pure, intuitive, connected state. I mean, as a lot of us grow up, we kind of sort of lose it, right? That's why, like, kids can see things that we can't see, and some animals can also see things that we can't see. And then the unseen did come out, so, and all those eyes came out. Yeah, that's interesting. Bina is the left eye knowledge, the third emanation, a flow of light that pours into the world, a candle whose flame may light another without diminishing its own. Bina seeks not only creation but purpose. She is a flare of pure intent that blossoms from the heart of existence and out into the world. Her energy brings with it a desire for knowledge. She is the force that churns all the potential from higher emanations into a form that can be received by our consciousness. The white orb illuminates the way forward. Bina sits atop the pillar of severity, heading the feminine aspect of the diagram. creating a perfect balance with Chakma at her side. Together, they represent a continuum of psychic understanding. While Bina represents the power of knowing, Chakma reveals the power of not knowing. One acts as a vessel as the other fills that vessel, giving it purpose. Found in learning, shared experience, and creation. One acts as a vessel as the other fills that vessel, giving it purpose. So, Bina would be the vessel, right? Hold up. Well, which one is the vessel? I think it'd be Bina? Excuse me. Bina represents the power of knowing. Chakma reveals the power of not knowing. One acts as a vessel as the other fills that vessel. So yeah, I mean one Bina, the other Chakma. Bina was mentioned first. It didn't say respectively, but I'm assuming respectively. Because when our vessel is empty, we don't know anything. When we're born, we kind of don't know anything of the world. As we live more and more life, Bina flows into us. That knowledge flows into us, and we know more. We don't know less, even though there's always a lot that we don't know. And so, with the right eye missing, it's like there's a lot of empty vessels kind of sort of left vacant down here, not being filled with that knowing or not being filled with that wisdom that Bina would bring us because the world has lost the right eye. And it's interesting because in the game, it's like the left eye was asleep for 500 years. Both of the eyes are open for a little bit, and then we lose the right eye. But again, like there's something that could only be grow. That's something that could only grow in the darkness. And I guess that would have been the right eye. No, the left eye. The left eye of night, the right eye of light. Yeah, the left eye of darkness. There's something that can only grow in the dark. While you've been asleep, it's been growing inside of you. And we almost have. We have a blue stone, we have a tear, and then we have something red on this. And let me see. I'm going to try to see if I can find a picture of it real quick, what I'm talking about. Not that it's necessarily necessary, but. Okay, here's a picture. I mean, I guess it isn't exactly the same. And this looks like something that somebody would have made. Uh, but it's this. And then inside she has that left eye. And then we see this one. And then we got this over here. So again, oops, well, it ain't exactly the same. But it reminded me of that. So something about one of the eyes being closed. And it's the masculine eye. The masculine eye is lost. Balder is dead. The left eye has been growing in the dark. That's what we've already learned. But now it's time for this healing to occur so that we can shift this without falling apart and we can reclaim what it is. We can reclaim that lost wisdom when we enter these light cycles. And then we have the devil at the bottom again with the animal. The devil could be the space of that toxic masculine energy that's kind of sort of been down here while the divine masculine eye has been lost or closed or whatever. But it's like, I guess since that divine eye has been lost or closed, we haven't been getting a complete picture. And I don't know. But it's time for that to change. Waiting on the world to change. Because I've been waiting on the world to change. I've been waiting on the world to change. Waiting on the world to change. You may be waiting for a while. Go out there and change the world. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Ain't that what they say? I think a card might have flipped over. Maybe not. Yeah. All right. Final message. Please. I kind of want to play Bayonetta now. It is one of my favorite games. It's the only game I've really been able to play. Like, a lot of games, when I beat them once, I can't play it again. I've played and beaten Bayonetta several times. This is a lot. The father of. So the father. Okay, so here we have a masculine energy. Bottom of the deck is the hangman. Been asleep. The father of cups. King of cups energy. The only black swan in the deck. Now, the Son of Cups is a white swan with a black cup, or with a cup with this black stuff in it. And the black stuff would be what the Son of Wands is sort of hiding. And now he's coming into the truth of who he is. And I feel like it's going to cause a sort of like. This Five of Wands and Eight of Swords is giving me a tower energy. Because this Five of Wands is disrupting things, and then the Eight of Swords is whatever this entrapment is. And then it's going to lead to this Four of Cups with that black moon up top. This black moon up top in the daylight, since it is night or daytime, that could be actually an eclipse. This is Cancerian energy. We did just have that solar eclipse in Cancer as soon as we went into Cancer season, and we had two Cancer new moons to go with that solar eclipse. And now we got like a Leo full moon at the tail end of Leo season. So something around that time, again, if you were already on the trajectory of doing this, then that solar eclipse could have been what really kind of sort of is going to push you over the edge then. And if you've done what you needed to do between then and now, between like what, the 22nd of July, I believe, and like now, then that's going to put you again in this space up here when we come into this Lion's Gate to proceed forward up here. If you didn't do it then, now you're going to be sort of encountering the opportunity through situations to do whatever you didn't do at the time, or even if it wasn't the time yet for you to do it, and to learn to like navigate these light cycles. Everything that you needed to do in the dark is probably like you've probably already learned it, right? It's like that plant has grown enough in the dark with that temperance. Now it's time to, it's like it has a light phase when it's younger. It has a dark phase when it's younger and a light phase when it's more mature. And so as long as you continue to be in the dark, it's like it'll never mature because now it needs more light. And maybe there's something about this plant that, let's say when it's in its infant stage, it glows in the dark. But because it glows in the dark when it's young, it attracts a lot of bugs. Hold up, wait. No, let's switch that. How do I want to say this? It glows in the dark. And because it glows in the dark, it attracts a lot of pests at night when, okay, yeah. Because it glows in the dark, it attracts a lot of pests at night that will eat at it. And that would otherwise be asleep or going somewhere else, right? So instead of going and like buzzing around a door with the porch light on, it's attracted to this plant and then it eats the plant, and the plant doesn't really get an opportunity to grow. And so it has a light phase when it's in its juvenile state before it develops whatever self-defense mechanism it has. And then in the dark, it can, when it's matured and when it has whatever to protect itself, it enters the night phase where it can glow in the dark and not necessarily worry about being eaten by, you know, whatever little pests are around. But Or does it develop that defense mechanism in the dark? I don't know. At first, I thought it was going one way. There's something about this, again, because it was like dark and the fruits were glowing red or whatever. Oh, okay. So it needs to reach maturity. It needs to produce seeds before it attracts bugs. Because then when the pests come and eat the fruit, then that's how it spreads its seeds through the droppings of the pests or whatever, right? This it's like it's trying to build itself in my mind and I'm so confused. Let me take a moment to try to figure this out. So before it reaches maturity, it grows in the light. And I guess when we're younger, we have a lot of those things that we aren't yet shamed out of dropping. And so then when we get more mature, we enter these dark periods. But it's through these dark periods that we actually spread and grow because the seeds or the fruit or whatever is like bioluminescent, but you only really see it at night because in the daytime it's too light, right? So you don't really see it because it's not like, brighter than daytime. But at night it's bright enough that it really attracts things. And as those things come by and pollinate or eat the seed and then they spread the droppings or they spread the pollen, it proliferates. But then you need to enter another light cycle for those to then grow. Right. Or else they're going to be eaten by the pest before they can, like, before they're mature enough to have their own seeds, their own fruit, or whatever reproductive plant things, right? And so it enters another light cycle. And so we've gone through the dark to discover these things, these parts of ourselves that can only grow in the dark. Through the tribulations and through the trials at night, our base is kind of spread a little bit. And then we come back into the light. So those seeds that were spread at night can begin to grow from that one plant that we started with. And there may be a metaphor in there somewhere or something. I don't know, but that's how it's like coming to me. I don't know what it means. Take it as it resonates. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe it's just nonsense. It's all nonsense when you think about it. Okay, so let's get a final few from this deck. And then I will go about my day. I wasn't productive this week. I might not be productive today either. I'm just not feeling it. It's almost the start of the semester though. So maybe I should just enjoy my little time now and like when the school semester typically starts, which is like the Monday before the last Monday of October or August, then I'm gonna hit this work like hard and finish it by December. So maybe I'll just like kind of sort of enjoy the little bit of my summer a little bit, I guess, even though it's all been a summer. I don't know. I'll get to it when I feel like it. Not when I feel like it, but when I feel lit. Because whenever I work and I'm not supposed to, it's just like my brain doesn't work. Some days my brain is just like on it, and we're crushing everything. Other days my brain is just like, I don't know about this one. Also, I'm gonna go in there and make me some chamomile and lavender tea because my throat is starting to like burn for some reason. I haven't had so the little mucus balls haven't been popping up lately, which is great. Excuse me, but now my throat is starting to burn a little bit. I need to pay attention to what I'm talking about when that starts to happen. Because I know it happens sometimes. And I think it's when I start talking about things that I don't fully consciously understand. Maybe that's my channeling like sign. That's the sign that I started channeling or something. Especially when I start coming into information where I'm like, what is this? But I don't know. Also, like, my brain just works like that sometimes. And so sometimes I'm like, I don't know, like, if I'm channeling or if this is me or what. Sometimes I feel like, in my mind, just like, this just makes sense. It's like that hidden soul knowledge that's just coming to the surface, bubbling. Bottom of the deck is the desert, and see here we got that dark moon up there, and we had a dark moon with that with the four of cups, somebody drowning in the sand. One person drowning in the sand, the other person walking on top of cups. The desert is hot. This is a 3710. It's about completion. With the desert, though, it's like you've completed the cycle, but you may be starting the same cycle all over again instead of entering into a new cycle. It's like instead of going up a floor after this cycle is over, you may be going down a floor and down another floor and down another floor to the point where you're under the desert. And they're treating this like it's quicksand, kind of, right? Unless I guess some people could be buried out in the desert. But then we have the mentor and the castle. The castle is number 43. The mentor is number 6. So we have a 6 and then a 7. The mentor is wise beyond their years. Because we have the owl, and then it's also flying over the lights at night. It could be someone who has a right eye that's a little bit more, at least a little bit more open than yours. Because it's in the space of the night. But it was the right eye of light. And that's why, like, we have the little bit of light at the bottom. It ain't necessarily daytime, but owls also do that. And then over here, we have the castle with the rose, pearls, and something dark back there. Is that like a clam or something? The castle can be a lot of things. It can be something beautiful, but it can also be a trap. The castle can also be a prison for a little prince or princess. It could be a space where you're overly protected, overly guarded, and it looks really beautiful on the outside, but it causes you to seek something outside of it. And then we have this mentor coming in. And the night. This mentor is giving me a shape-shifting energy just because I don't feel like this mentor is actually an owl. But this mentor takes the shape of an owl to approach the castle at night. Because if, like, there are still guards around the castle at night, right? It may be a little less guarded, or maybe more guarded. It's a little easier, like, it's harder to see at night, I guess, than it is in the daytime. And so this mentor takes this shape because then it can approach the castle at this time. And also when everyone else is asleep, it's like this prince or princess can go to their balcony and can talk to this owl. I don't know if the owl is necessarily telling you how to escape this castle, because it's like the owl talks in riddles. So that even if the owl is overheard, others wouldn't like understand. It's like hoo, right? Everyone else hears the hoo, but for the person imprisoned in this castle, they can decode it because they have like the divine, what did I call it? It was a while ago, not like a long time ago, but I was like, you have the divine codex to decrypt these encrypted messages or something like that. And so it's like the divine is finding you in the heart of your captivity. and helping you in maybe ways that are a little bit more indirect than you would like to escape yourself. It's like the divine, like whatever this mentor is, it knows the construction of this castle, and like there's a hidden sort of passageway out of the castle, and it's instructing you to go there. Now, I would be careful. I would like make sure that you know what the intentions of this mentor is, because you can get a mentor that is for you and you can get a mentor that's not for you. And if this is a mentor that's not for you, they're going to lead you to this secret like passageway, and then they're going to be waiting in ambush to kidnap you when you come out on the other side, and then they're going to hold you ransom. But if this is like a divine, how I was feeling it, but I feel like I had to clarify that for some reason. Always use your own sort of internal judgment, because both sides of the coin know where you are in your journey. They kind of sort of have to, because free will is always a thing and choice is always a thing. And so it's like, because choice is always a thing, certain information is available to both parties, right? So you can, like, because you can always choose to refuse the call anyway. They both know where we are. And so we need to use our own discernment and our own wisdom. We need to validate the words of this owl, and the words of the divine will always validate themselves. The words of the less than divine, it's like, it's more the space of a self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe. Check and see how they resonate for you. Because either it's going to liberate you, it's like either way it's going to liberate you, but it may be like, if this is a less than divine, it could be like out of the pot and into the fire type of energy, where you wish you would have just stayed in the castle instead of being held wherever you're going to be held, or it can actually be freeing you. I think it's going to be freeing you, especially if like you've been doing good, but if you haven't been doing good, and if you have something bad coming back, either it's going to be getting you out of the sand or it's going to be putting you in the sand, and that depends on your karma, I guess. So I'm gonna shut this down here. That was interesting. Don't know what I'm going to title this, but that's fine. And I will catch y'all later. I can't believe it's been 2 hours. Oh my gosh. 2 hours for what? This is only one deck and it took me 2 full hours. Okay, alright. See y'all later.